Welcome. Just hope you guys are cool. So I'm just making a video on how to illustrate IPO chart, and it's just a simple thing that we need to keep in mind. It's one of the part or tools that we use to analyze the problems and closely related to an algorithm. So if you have an IPO, you have a full set of a program if you can analyze it quite well. So we have an IPO chart, which is also an analysis tool of a problem. Okay, there are many things that we can talk about IPO. So this video is actually going to help you in making sure how do we use IPO and what are the rules of IPO and the format of IPO and all that. So IPO has three columns, like the name say IPO, input, processing, and output. So in the input column, that is the first column on your left, we're going to list the legal variable names. The ones that you're going to list are we are going to be followed or be before by the word accept. Whenever we see the word accept, whatever that comes after that, we know that we have to accept that. Ask the user to enter. Maybe ask the user to enter the name. We know that that variable name has to be under input. So in the input, we put all the input variable names under that column. We have a lot of variable names, but some other variable names are not input variable names, are just variable names that help us to process our problem, help us to just have a full set of a problem. Okay, so we're just trying to make a solution. So we have different types of variable, but not all variables are input variable names. So here we're just going to outline or list the input variable names. So under processing, you're just going to list actions. Actions can be calculate. Actions can be display. Action can be add, multiply. Those are the actions that you are required to do. Boil the water if you are looking at an algorithm of making a tea. So boil water. Those are the actions. Go and fetch, or those are the actions, not the input. But if I say give me or get this from the user, those are the input that we need in order to process that. Okay, so now one thing that you also must note, which is crucial, is that we have to use simple English in IPO. You're not going to write pseudocode. Like I said, when someone who's not doing IT, when they look at your IPO, they must be like, no, this is what we actually need. This is how we understand a pseudocode. This is how simply we do understand what this problem or is supposed to solve, what this problem is supposed to do. So now it's all about showing what to do, not how to solve a problem. This may be, instead of calculating math, just tell us to calculate the sum. Don't tell us how to find the sum. Calculate the the net salary of an employee, calculate a gross amount, which is most of the time given. So all those are the things that we need to also look at in processing. Show us what to do, not how to do it. Please be careful whenever you're writing for processing. On the process, be careful on that. And everything must go in list. When you say list, list is ordered. So list is ordered. We just have to make sure that the order of our sequence of processing, it is in a manner that is understood. So you cannot process something that you didn't get. So if I say boil water, but they didn't manage to fetch water, you're going to burn the kettle. So try to get water before you boil water. So let's look at output. We also have to list output out, list everything in order, in an orderly manner, like sequentially. List of output or result required. So now we're going to identify output. Like I said, here under output, we're going to list what variable names and the keyword like message. Okay, so we just have to write an IPO. I'll make three videos, if not two, just to show you or just illustrate what do we mean by say wait and stuff. So, but for now, we'll just know that in output, we just have to write what an output variable name, a variable name that will carry the result of the processing, of the result of what is being processed. That may be the sum, that may be the total number, that may be the net salary, that may be that the gender, that may be anything that is composing of that, or that is storing the result of what is being processed. Okay, so I just want us to look at this. So in the input, we're just going to list all the variable names for all input. Be careful of that input. Not everything must be under, not every variable name must be under the column input. So the processing, we list all the action needed, except if 1 is equals to 3, we just have to list all that. What to do, not how to do. Output, variable names for all outputs, like we say. Variable name that carries the result, that carries the feedback. So now let's write this program. It says we have to write a program of accepting three numbers. We add the three numbers, we add them together and display the total. So be careful that an IPO, you write an IPO before the pseudocode. So a pseudocode is closely like a program. It's like that now we are design, not design. Now we are actually coding. If you look at the SDLC in your like in your notes how we start by designing, we start by the task analysis, all those things. So we still designing now, we're still analyzing, how to solve this problem. You also need to design, and you also need to show that in terms of coding may be in a different language, but in our instant we have to write in pseudocode or visual basic.net. So what job that I want you to do is to identify actions, identify verbs. I need you to check the verbs. So here, the first verb is accept. The second verb is display. I mean add. The third one is display. So we need to also write what we need to write in the things that will stay under the processing. Now let's look at our part. After listing all our actions, we have to know that, like I said, after the keyword accept, we have to know that we have three variable names. Now let's look at our column. We have three variable names, which are number one, number two, number three. And also, they say that we must display what? We must display total. So that's why under the output column, we have total. So we have to separate the variable names that will be our input and the variable name that will be our total. So that is the whole impact of it. Under processing, okay, now since we have these three numbers and we need to display the total. A total may be the product of those three numbers. A total may be the average of those numbers. So, but then what is it that we must process with these three numbers? You gave me three numbers, but what can I do with those three numbers? We have a keyword there, add. So what is it that we must do now? We must add. But we need to know, okay, so we need to boil water. We first must do what? Must fetch the water. Hence, in our processing, your processing, if they said you have to accept, you have to, the first line here will be accept those things that they said you must accept. So now we say I know that I have to add the three numbers, but where are they? You managed to declare and display them. So, but in the processing, we're just saying that accept, mean that assign those numbers that we got from the users to the three variable names, which is number one, number two, and number three. So the first line will be accept three numbers. Another one, now that we have those three numbers, let's add those three numbers. So gonna be number one plus number two plus number three. So here under processing, you're not gonna write that. You're not gonna write number one plus number two plus number three. Now, you're also not gonna write this under processing. You're not gonna say total is equals to number one. You're not gonna write this. This is what you're not gonna write. You're not gonna do all these things. So we're not gonna write number one and number two and number three. So just have to note that we're not gonna write this in IPO. Rather, you say what? Add the three numbers. You just replace this line and say add the three. So you replace this line, you're just gonna write it in your code. Cut that line off, put it on your code or on your flowchart. So add the three numbers, and let's go to our program. Display the total. Now here you're not gonna say display and write it in the form of pseudocode. Remember, we're not writing pseudocode. We're not gonna say display um, like this because I know some who might do like this. You're not gonna write. Remember, we're writing simple English. So display the total. You can write it total of three numbers. You can write it like this, a total of three numbers. So now we go back. So now we have all those things. That is our full IPO. So from now, you know that you have to declare three numbers. You know that you have to accept the three numbers. You know that you must have the formula of calculating those three numbers. You know that you have to display the total number. So if they say write a pseudocode for this, our pseudocode, if there is here, will have to be of the other nature. Okay, so that is the simple program of doing that. I'll try to make another video of doing this exercise. We say ask the user to input. I'll make another video. Thank you.